Good evening, everyone. Actually, I can't believe tonight has come upon us. This was a major undertaking of the Order of St. Andrew, and it is about to begin. It is an historic conference. And before I make some remarks about the conference itself, I want to thank some people that made it possible. And of course, I know whenever you thank people, you run the risk that you forget someone. If I forgot someone specifically, I apologize. But first, I want to thank the speakers, because the speakers are fantastic. We have an extremely diverse group of people with a great array of talents, and to them, I want to give a great hand. But, you know, getting speakers is not an easy job. And actually, in doing my work to get speakers and the committee's work, it really reflected on human nature and reflected on the dedication of people. And I just want to tell you a few stories, because some people didn't show up here. It took work to get them here. And then other people went above and beyond the call of duty to get here. And I just want to point out a few of those people. The first person I'd like to mention was a reporter that I was put in contact with over the phone. He's based in Brussels, and I know I'll mispronounce his name, and for that I apologize, but Salkak Gastali, who's a reporter for Zaman. He was a man that I never knew before. I didn't ask him to speak. What I did is asked him to help me get speakers, specifically representatives of the Alevi community. This man went above and beyond the call of duty. He would call me, email me, and in fact, ultimately we were successful. Mr. Burmack of from the Alevi community agreed to speak. And again, this man had no stake, specific stake, in the outcome of these events, other than I think he realized the noble cause that this whole conference represents. And to him, I tip my hat. Another person, you know, people think from America, you're from America, and you can come here, travel. And as an American, I take it for granted that we can travel all around the world. There's a guy here today, my friend. He actually, on Friday, he spent 6 hours on a bus driving, going to New York, from Ithaca, New York, Cornell University, to get his visa. And he got it through the help of Father Alex, drove and came 6 hours back on a bus to speak here, and his name is Professor Muna Ndulo, Dr. Ndulo. And this man, too, went above and beyond the call of duty to be here, and to him, I tip my hat. Another person I want to tip my hat to is Mr. Laki Vingas. Laki is one of the preeminent members of the Orthodox community in Istanbul. Although he has a stake in what went on, he went above and beyond the call of duty, helping us get representatives from minority communities, responding to my constant emails, Dr. Limbarakis' constant emails. I think we drove Laki out of his mind, to be honest with you, but he put up with us. He did a great job, and he ended up, through his efforts, we got Mr. Bagas to speak here. And so to Laki, I tip my hat, because he went, again, I think, above and beyond the call of duty. He's just not speaking. He did a lot more behind the scenes. And then I want to specifically thank Metropolitan Emmanuel and Father Emilianos. They were our people on the ground in Brussels. They did a tremendous job. And then I want to thank Presbytera Zanthi Karloutsis. She is Father Alex's wife. She did an unbelievable job planning this event, doing the stuff behind the scenes, getting the invitations out. She did a professional, efficient job. And then I want to thank Father Alex Karloutsis. You know, when you read literature on the Archons, he says, spiritual advisor to the Order of St. Andrew. And that's true, but he's beyond a spiritual advisor. He is our strategic advisor. He has a lot of wisdom. If you want to get things done, you go to Father Alex. And if you want to know how to do things, you go to Father Alex. And so to him, I tip my hat. And the last person is Dr. Limbarakis, who's the national commander of the Order of St. Andrew. He is a tireless worker. Without Dr. Limbarakis and without his vision, his foresight, his hard work, none of this would happen, because he took the Order of St. Andrew from really a not so active organization into a preeminent defender of religious freedom, not only for the Orthodox minority in Turkey, but for religious minorities, all religious minorities in Turkey. Well, that's it for the thank yous. I just want to say a few brief remarks about the conference itself. This conference is an historic conference. I'm a guy that's sort of into conferences, and I was checking, and there are religious conferences, but religious conferences usually have people that fit a particular profile. And most religious conferences have people that are religious, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is more to religious freedom than just gathering, say, clerics or religious scholars. And what our conference has done, and I don't think it's ever been done before, is it has brought together all of the major constituencies in society: political, legal, humanitarian, religious, social, and it's brought together the intelligentsia, specifically from America and from Turkey. And I think that getting this group and array of people, it will evoke and stimulate a great debate over the next few days. You know, and I'll just sit down in a minute, but I was thinking the other night in bed, I was thinking about the conference, and we focus on the bridge to religious freedom. And there is no doubt in my mind that this conference is a religious freedom conference. But it is more than a religious freedom conference. It is really a human rights conference that focuses on religious freedom, and the religious freedom being Turkey's bridge to the European Union. And I want to leave you with these few words. And again, I go back to my friend Dr. Andulo, because he really, out of all the words I've heard, you know, I've been around, I listened to people, he said some of the most profound and thought-provoking words that I've ever heard. A few years ago, my son made a film about Turkey and the problems of religious minorities, and at the end of the film, Dr. Andulo appeared, and he said really the following words. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, there's an old cliche among human rights lawyers and human rights activists, and that is the violation of one person's human rights is a violation of every person's human rights. And I think that's why we're here today. This is about religious freedom, but it's more than that. This is about fundamental human rights, and I know that we will make progress in our goal of advancing human rights for religious minorities in Turkey. Now we'll have dinner, and then after dinner there'll be some additional remarks by some other people, including the keynote address by Archbishop Demetrios of America. Dr. Odysseus Sassayiannis. He is the president of the Brotherhood of Pammakaristos, Archons of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Europe. He wants to extend a few greetings. Odysseus is the counterpart of Dr. Rockas in Europe, so to speak, and he's in charge of the European Archons.
Thank you. Eminences, Excellencies, Reverend Fathers, distinguished speakers and participants, honorable guests. Religious freedom is a very complex and hot issue in our multicultural societies. This modern human right claims from state and religions more than tolerance towards groups and persons with different religious convictions. Tolerance is easier to practice than the demands of religious freedom. Tolerance makes pragmatic concessions to the others without granting them their rights. Tolerance often expresses an arrogance which humiliates. The right of religious freedom as basic element of human rights is more than tolerance. Any discrimination of people due to their religion violates fundamental rights. Religious freedom doesn't contradict the truth of religious conviction. It opens peaceful way of living faith in our pluralistic world. religious freedom doesn't mean relativism or syncretism. It rather promotes relation and synergism. It underlines and recognizes the importance of religious faith for human existence and coexistence. Consequently, the protection of the rights of religious minorities in Turkey is crucial, not only for these groups, but also for modern Turkey itself, claiming its full membership in the European Union. In the same way, religious freedom is the distinctive mark of every contemporary society as an open, a democratic society based on the principles of human rights. Human rights are indivisible. On behalf of the Order of Pammakaristos Brotherhood, Archons of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Europe, I wish to the participants in this international conference fruitful deliberations and a creative dialogue on the challenging issue of the human right of religious freedom and its effective protection as Turkey's bridge to the European Union. Thank you.
I want to introduce my friend Chris Stratakis. Mr. Stratakis is the chairman of the legal committee of the Order of St. Andrew. Chris is an important component of everything the order does from a legal standpoint, and he's going to introduce Archbishop Demetrios, primate of the Greek Orthodox Church in America and exarch of the Ecumenical Patriarchate.
Your Eminences, Reverend clergy, distinguished guests, speakers, Archons, ladies and gentlemen. For the past 12 years or so, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle has been led by a passionate, resourceful, and dedicated National Commander, Dr. Anthony Limberakis. Through his hard work, tenacity, single-purpose inspirational leadership, he succeeded in propelling the Order of St. Andrew into an institution enjoying international recognition and renown. Yet, all of the Order's accomplishments, effectiveness, and successful religious missions over the years would not have been possible without the wise and quiet guidance of our spiritual leader in the United States, Archbishop Demetrios. As the exarch of the Ecumenical Patriarch of Constantinople, he has always been there, ready and willing to provide the order with a sense of direction and with counsel characterized by prudence, moderation, and common sense. In the course of his tenure over the past 11 years or so, Archbishop Demetrios has served as a beacon, directing our energies towards the support and defense of the Mother Church and providing us with a true sense of responsibility as the defenders of the faith. However, I must also point out the Archbishop is leading by example, His energy, pace, and dedication have been inspirational, if not legendary. For example, I would like to take yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. He came in this morning from New York after officiating yesterday at a full hierarchical liturgy at the Church of St. Anarie in New York, then visiting our Jewish Greek brethren, then attending a reception at St. Michael for the aged, and catching a late flight, coming over, taking that trip, transatlantic trip to Brussels. Yet, despite this back-breaking pace over the past 24 hours, he's still here. He agreed to find time to serve as our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Order of St. Andrew is about to embark upon another momentous undertaking in its efforts to highlight the issues surrounding religious minorities in Turkey and suggesting some answers addressing these issues in Turkey, we are blessed to have among us to start the proceedings with an address this evening by our spiritual leader in the United States. I am therefore very pleased and privileged, ladies and gentlemen, to present to you Archbishop Demetrios.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ, κύριε Στρατάκη, για την καλοσυνάτη και πολύ κολακευτική εισαγωγή σας. Thank you, Mr. Stratakis, for the very flattering and very kind introduction. Σεβασμιότατε Άγιε Βελγίου και εκλεκτοί αδελφέ και ιεράρχα ο οποίος μας φιλοξενεί όλους εδώ αυτές τις ημέρες, σεβασμιότατε Άγιε Γερμανίας, σεβασμιότατε Άγιε Ατλάντας, σεβασμιότατε Άγιε Νέας Ιερσέης, θεοφιλέστατε Άγιε Ευμενίας, θεοφιλέστατε Άγιε Συνόπης, Your Excellency, the representative of the Armenian Patriarch of Istanbul, εξοχότατοι κύριοι πρέσβεις της Ελλάδος και της Κύπρου, Commander Dr. Limberakis, Commander κύριε Σασσαγιάννη της Παμακαρίστου, κύριε Βίγκα, που έχετε την ιδιαίτερη θέση να εκπροσωπείτε επισήμως τις μειονότητες στην τουρκική κυβέρνηση. Είναι για πρώτη φορά που γίνεται αυτό το πράγμα. This is the first time that someone is an official representative of the minorities of Turkey by the Turkish government. Άρχοντες, professors, ποιον ξεχάσαμε άλλοι? Τον Άγιο Ισπανίας, και έχει ωραίο όνομα, Πολύκαρπος. We shouldn't forget it. Αγαπητοί πατέρες, επιτρέψτε μου να μνημονεύσω ιδιαίτερα τον πατέρα Αλέξανδρο Καρλούτσο και την πρεσβυτέρα, και αγαπητοί πατέρες και εκλεκτοί αδελφοί τόσο της Παμακαρίστου όσο και κυρίως του Αγίου Ανδρέου. I thank God and I apologize for omissions. When you address officially people, the problem is not whom you address but whom you don't address. And I'm sorry if I omit some important person here. Forgive me for the because of the multitude of high-level officials tonight. I thank God for this honor of being with you this evening at the beginning of our historic conference on religious freedom. Allow me to tell you that in the program is listed what I'm going to offer as a keynote. Keynote is a heavy title for a very demanding content. So then let's make it just some comments, some remarks on the event that we are going to witness. An event that has been prepared very carefully and very boldly. Mr. Rockas has been working so hard. Allow me, without wanting to offer something that is ordinary in America, to start with a joke. But allow me to say that Mr. Rockas said repetitively tonight that he is taking off his hat in recognizing people. Mr. Rockas, I didn't see any hat that you were wearing. But thank you for the very kind words that you offer tonight. I thank God also, first of all, for the mere fact that we are here and we are able to assemble peacefully for such a discussion, that we may all take part and speak our minds without hindrance or fear, that we who are clergy may be dressed in the garments of our tradition and of our vocation, and that we may enjoy dinner together, sharing the bounties of God's blessings without hunger or want. In other times, and even now, in other places, this meal and this conference would be simply impossible. But here, tonight and tomorrow, is going to be a reality. So then, what we do here is not merely a discussion of freedom, of religious freedom. It is an expression of freedom. It is a celebration of the freedom God gives to all the people of this planet of ours. I'm thankful, moreover, for the outstanding work of the Archons of our Ecumenical Patriarchate in organizing this conference, both of the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle and the Brotherhood of Pammakaristos, one in America, the other in Europe. The word Archon means leader, and it is a true act of leadership that the Archons demonstrate today, and they are going to demonstrate in the following 2 days. I'm thankful as well for the willingness of the representatives of the European Union to engage this most serious and timely work of the freedom of religious minorities in Turkey. We have been blessed to enjoy the fullness of religious freedom in America. Our 540 Greek Orthodox communities in America, which constitute a vital eparchy of our Ecumenical Patriarchate, prosper spiritually and otherwise because of the precious gift of religious freedom that we have. Without that, progress would have been not possible. I commend to you their greetings and their brotherly regards, together with their thanks for your efforts on behalf of our beloved and venerable Patriarchate. As I thought in preparing the present opening remarks on religious freedom, I considered using a very telling example. It has to do with the ecological catastrophe that recently happened in the Gulf of Mexico. As you surely know, for 3 months, a well on the seafloor of the Gulf of Mexico was gushing crude oil into the water, ruining coastlines and ravaging marine life. Earlier this month, scientists reported on the enormity of this spill. The damage is unspeakable. A massive ecosystem has been destroyed and throws the geological development way back. It will be thousands of years before the coral reefs and the marine life of the Gulf of Mexico can be restored to their original status. Thousands of years. As expected, the reaction to this catastrophe was strong and led into immediate action. I am using this ecological catastrophe as a fitting symbol for the serious damage caused by any kind of limitation of religious freedom in any place of the world. It is not natural to expect a strong and immediate reaction in confronting violations of religious freedom, as it happened with violations of ecological systems. Should not the global community care when the basic freedom to worship and practice one's religious traditions is violated? In that case, it is obvious that a danger is created to wipe away communities and cultures that flourished for thousands of years. In 2001, when religious fervor destroyed 2 1,500-year-old statues of the Buddha in Afghanistan, the world reacted strongly to the loss of these religious and cultural treasures. International opinion condemned the action, and some governments in Europe and Asia have pledged to help restore the statues. But dynamite is not the only way to destroy religious and cultural treasures. With the unexpected and unacceptable use of long-term planning and cunning, one can achieve the same results by means of legal restrictions, economic privations, bureaucratic roadblocks, and acts of intimidation. Let me illustrate this example, the example that is best known to us and to our spiritual flock. In Istanbul, Turkey, there lives a community for whom the city has been home for 2 millennia. From the days before it was even the city of Emperor Constantine, when it was simply Byzantium. Within that community developed a tremendous cultural and religious achievement. Such an amazing achievement was definitely the result of the existence of full religious freedom. In the center of this remarkable progress has been the Ecumenical Patriarchate, the Church, the Orthodox Church. Whether you speak of architecture, or music, or literature, or poetry, or painting, or mosaics, or dramas, or scholarship, or theology, or the tremendous production and preservation of invaluable manuscripts, no survey is complete without a discussion of the Byzantine strongly ecclesiastical contribution in all these areas. It's an amazing phenomenon, historically, culturally, religiously. But the brilliance of the Byzantine Orthodox culture and tradition goes far beyond Istanbul and the borders of contemporary Turkey. As we know, with the rise of Ottoman Empire came the immigration of Byzantine scholars into the West in the 15th century, as we know, and with them the wealth of classical learning and medieval science. Today we call this Renaissance, but the Renaissance is clearly a reflection of the Byzantine splendor, quite frankly. Culturally, intellectually, artistically, religiously, all of Europe has ties to Byzantium. We should also not forget that the 7 ecumenical councils, which constitute a uniquely authoritative expression of the united Christianity, all of them took place in Byzantium. All of them. Now, here in Western Europe, the seeds of Byzantine culture, with its strong ecclesiastical character, have taken root and flourished. But back in the home city, the 2,000-year legacy is suffering, choked off by decades of governmental obstructionism. This precious Orthodox Christian culture is seriously injured. This, unfortunately, is a result of the limitation of religious freedom imposed upon our Ecumenical Patriarchate. More specifically, the Patriarchate, as we know, is confronted by the obstinate rejection of its ecumenical character and title, of a significant part of its property, of a refusal for the recognition of its legal status, and of a continuing closure of its only institution for the training of its clergy for decades of years now. In the year 2001, when 2 statues were destroyed in Afghanistan, the world protested vehemently. In 2010, when coral reefs were poisoned to death in the Gulf of Mexico, the global community mourned. But over the past 70 years, as the entire cultural bequest of a great civilization spanning 2 millennia is reduced in its very place of birth, its mother city, what is the local and even more the global response? It took an international engineering effort to stop the flow of crude oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Our task in this conference is to engineer a solution to establish and guarantee the fullness of religious freedom for the Ecumenical Patriarchate and the rest of the religious minorities in Turkey. We already have some recent encouraging signs coming from the Turkish government that there are open perspectives for positive action. We could mention the Divine Liturgy in the ancient monastery of Sumela on August 15, 2010, just last summer. We have the Principos Orphanage, and we have also the kind participation of representatives from Turkey in the present conference. Thus, on the basis of expected progress on the issue of religious freedom, we can see the building of a bridge connecting Turkey with European Union on that basis. This, by the help of God, should be the ultimate goal of the present conference. I began this address with expressions of thankfulness for those who take their conference, this conference, and participate in that. I could end by expressing the gratitude not only of myself, but of the entire Greek Orthodox community of America for the heroic leadership and service of our Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, and above all, for our Ecumenical Patriarchate, and above all, to our first hierarch, His All Holiness, Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew. His voice has been a voice of peace for all and a blessing upon all. His wise and compassionate response has been an example for all. In this very place, just 2 months after September 11, 2001, the Patriarch, in cooperation with the European Union, realized immediately, only 2 months after, an international interreligious conference for protection against terrorism and stopping any kind of violence and force on human beings. This is the Patriarch. And may his intercessions, his patriarchal intercessions before God, enlighten our discussions in the days ahead, and may God grant him many years of continued services and leadership for all people in all places of this earth. The official blessing and greeting of the Patriarch will be presented tomorrow in a special text. So, by reasons of keeping the protocol, I cannot say anything more but to say that the Patriarch is in a complete vigilance and in a complete accompaniment with his prayers as we are talking and as we are gathered here. Thank you again, and may God bless the deliberations, the discussions, and the decisions that this conference is going to take for the benefit of all people, far beyond Turkey, far beyond Europe, in any place that religious freedom is needed. Thank you.